and there's an accusation about Jay-Z and Diddy and a teenager, 13-year-old teenager.
Right.
And we were speaking about just the statement.
Right.
The statement, you were saying you felt like that was calculated.
The statement is something from, you can tell it was written by a lawyer.
All right, stop whatever you're doing, yes. Even if you're pretending to work, because this is one of those moments where the internet collectively drops its phone, cracks the screen, and still keeps scrolling. Because allegedly, Jay-Z just cracked the vault open and let something slip that 50 Cent spent years duct taping shut about. Diddy. And when I say slip, I don't mean a casual whisper. I mean the kind of leak that floods the whole building, shorts the lights, and has everybody running around yelling, "Who turned the water on?" This isn't gossip you overhear at a barbershop. This is group chat on fire. You're refreshing their inbox. PR team sweating through silk suits. Type information. The internet didn't just react, it detonated. Memes started flying faster than lawyers' cease and desist letters. Timelines looked like a crime scene mixed with a comedy club. And the wildest part? This makes the Kardashians look like they're arguing over salad dressing. Because if what's being whispered is even half true, then we're not talking about a misunderstanding. We're talking about a chessboard where somebody just flipped the table. And Jay-Z casually walked away while 50 Cent stared at the mess like, wait, how did they find out? Nobody planned for this moment. That's what makes it dangerous. Because when Jay-Z speaks carefully, people listen. But when Jay-Z allegedly lets something slip,
And it's different than when it was 2016. You know, the game has been elevated. As we can tell, there's no expense being spared. We had a black billionaire's lunch. Yeah. You understand?
Right.
And we here together, and we're going to keep staying together. We getting tighter. You know what I'm saying?
There's only one person.
Oh, go on.
And I call him Sean. That's Jay-Z. We call each other Sean.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody else could call me Sean.
He's the only person who's Sean approved.
There's not a single person that
outside of family.
That should be outside of my mother.
Okay,
That should be calling.
the entire culture leans forward like, wait, rewind that. This didn't come with a press release. No dramatic announcement. No flashing warning signs. It happened quietly. The way real chaos always does mid-conversation, mid-thought. Wrapped in that calm billionaire tone that sounds harmless until you realize the words already left the room. And suddenly, the internet caught a scent because the line Jay-Z dropped didn't sound new. It sounded familiar. Like something people had heard before but never confirmed. Like a rumor that's been sitting in the back of hip-hop's closet collecting dust, waiting for the wrong door to open. And that's when people started asking the question that set everything on fire. Why did 50 Cent never say this out loud? Now, let's be real. If there's one person in hip-hop who treats silence like a foreign language, it's 50 Cent. This is the same man who will roast you on Instagram before breakfast. Post memes at lunch and sell tickets off your embarrassment by dinner. So when he avoids a topic. That's not fear. That's strategy. For years, 50 danced around Diddy in a way that never matched his usual energy. Jokes here. Side comments there. Always enough to raise eyebrows, never enough to fully cross the line. Fans noticed it. Industry insiders whispered about it. But nobody ever connected the dots out loud until now. Jay-Z's alleged leak didn't accuse. It didn't point fingers. It didn't even sound dramatic. And that's the scary part. Because the calmest statements are usually the ones carrying the heaviest weight. The internet immediately went into forensic mode. Clips were slowed down like the Zapruder film. Comment sections turned into group therapy sessions mixed with courtroom debates. People weren't asking if something was hidden anymore. They were asking how long. And right at the center of it all was Diddy, a man whose career has always existed at the intersection of power, influence, and mystery. The kind of figure where stories follow him like background music, sometimes loud, sometimes barely audible but never fully silent. Here's where the tension tightens. Jay-Z and Diddy go back decades. Not casual acquaintances. Not industry strangers. We're talking shared rooms, shared stages, shared moments when hip-hop wasn't a billion-dollar machine yet. That history matters. Because when someone with that level of proximity hints at something, People assume it's not guesswork. And now loop 50 Cent back into the picture. 50 built an entire brand off exposing fake behavior. He doesn't just call people out, he documents them. Screenshots, captions, receipts served cold with a sarcastic smile. So fans started wondering why Diddy was treated differently. Why the jokes always stopped short. Why the laughs never crossed into full-blown exposure. Why the energy shifted whenever Diddy's name entered the conversation. Jay-Z's alleged comment suddenly made that silence feel loud. Deafening, actually. Social media didn't wait for confirmation. It never does. Instead, it built a narrative in real time. Some said 50 new things that went beyond internet jokes. Others claimed the industry had unspoken rules about what not to touch. And then came the reactions. Fans were split down the middle. One side said this was just another case of people overanalyzing a sentence that wasn't meant to be decoded. The other side said, nah, this feels different. Because it wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't messy. It was precise. That precision is what made people uneasy. Because chaos usually announces itself. This didn't. It crept in quietly and let the audience do the damage themselves. Memes started popping up within hours. Some funny. Some savage. Some straight up uncomfortable. 50 Cent laughing GIFs flooded timelines like clockwork. Diddy reaction clips resurfaced from years ago, suddenly viewed through a completely different lens, and Jay-Z. Silent. That silence only poured gasoline on the fire. Because when someone with that level of control doesn't clarify, people assume clarification would only make it worse, behind the scenes, at least according to online speculation. PR teams were probably speed-dialing lawyers. Not because anything was proven, but because perception had shifted. And in celebrity culture, perception is currency. This wasn't about facts yet. It was about questions. Why would Jay-Z hint at something now? Why would this resurface at this exact moment? And why did 50 Cent suddenly look like the guy who knew the ending but chose not to spoil the movie? Hip-hop fans know patterns. They know when a story is being seeded instead of shouted. And this felt like a seed planted deliberately or carelessly in the wrong soil. By the end of the day, the narrative had grown legs. People weren't just reacting anymore. They were revisiting history. Old beefs felt recontextualized. Old jokes felt sharper. Old silences felt intentional. And the scariest part? Nobody had actually said anything concrete yet, but the tension was already thick enough to cut with a diamond chain. Because when legends start indirectly referencing what other legends refuse to say, the culture doesn't wait for proof. It waits for the next crack in the wall. Once the seed was planted, the internet did what it does best: turn a whisper into a wildfire and roast marshmallows over it. There was no cooling this down. Not with logic. Not with explanations. Because by now the story wasn't about what Jay-Z said. It was about what everyone suddenly heard. Timelines transformed into digital coliseums. Every post felt like a verdict. Every comment section looked like a jury that already made up its mind and just showed up for entertainment. And somehow, 50 Cent's presence loomed over it all like a silent narrator who'd already read the script years ago. People started pulling up old interviews, like archaeologists digging for forbidden artifacts. Clips from a decade ago suddenly hit different. Lines that once sounded like jokes now felt like coded warnings. The internet loves a plot twist, and this one had layers stacked like a conspiracy lasagna. Memes became weapons. Not the cute kind, the surgical ones. Split screens of Jay-Z's calm face next to 50's smirk. Captions screaming, "He been new."
Diddy.
Reaction GIFs looping endlessly like the universe was stuck. Buffering. And then came the celebrity reactions, or the lack of them, because nothing screams panic louder than silence when everyone else is screaming. Some stars joked it off, pretending they didn't see the timeline melting down. Others dropped vague tweets that said everything and nothing at the same time. The classic, "Y'all reaching," followed by deleting the tweet 2 minutes later. That's when the analogies went nuclear. People compared this to finding out your favorite teacher had a secret life as a supervillain, to learning Santa Claus had a Venmo, to realizing your childhood dog was actually running the neighborhood. Ridiculous? Absolutely. Effective? Even more .fab fans started comparing it to old mob stories where everyone knows who runs the block. But nobody says the name out loud unless they're ready for consequences. Suddenly, 50 Cent's careful wording over the years didn't look random. It looked calculated, and let's talk about Diddy's public image for a second.
He's always moved like a man untouched by gravity.
Lawsuits slide off. Rumors evaporate. Controversy circles him like a shark that never bites. That kind of longevity doesn't come from luck alone, it comes from knowing where the lines are drawn. So when Jay-Z's alleged hint made those lines visible, the outrage wasn't just loud, it was theatrical. People weren't reacting with anger as much as fascination. Like watching a magician reveal the trick mid-show, and then the conspiracy theories evolved. Some claimed this was a power shift. Others said it was retaliation for something long buried. A few went full galaxy brain, suggesting this was all a calculated distraction from a bigger story brewing behind the scenes. Because in hip-hop, coincidence is treated like a myth. 50 Cent fans added fuel to the fire. They reposted old clips of him laughing at chaos, captioning them like prophetic scrolls. He tried to tell y'all, this man always survives the blast radius. 50 don't beef, he waits. Meanwhile, Jay-Z's camp stayed quiet. And that quiet felt intentional. Because if this were truly nothing, clarification would have been easy. A sentence, a shrug, a joke. Instead, the silence stretched, and the internet filled the gap with imagination. Brands noticed. Blogs noticed. Even people who don't follow hip-hop suddenly had opinions. This thing jumped genres, timelines, and age groups like it had a passport. Think about that. One vague moment sparked debates at barbershops, podcasts, Discord servers, and family group chats where nobody even listens to rap. But somehow had a take, and the humor kept escalating. People joked that this was the infinity war of hip-hop drama. Jay-Z as the calm mastermind. 50 Cent as the chaotic narrator. Diddy as the untouchable final boss. Thanos wishes he had this kind of plot armor, but beneath the jokes was a current of unease. Because jokes are how people process discomfort. And this story felt uncomfortable in a way that lingered. Not explosive infectious. Every hour that passed without clarity made the theories bolder. The memes sharper. The takes hotter. People weren't just reacting anymore, they were rewriting history. Old collaborations were reinterpreted. Past beefs suddenly felt less random. Even lyrics were analyzed like encrypted messages. Was this a warning? Was that a confession? How did we miss this?
And Diddy?
Still quiet. That quiet became the loudest sound in the room. Because when everyone else is talking, the one person who doesn't feels like they're waiting for the room to tire itself out. At this point, the scandal wasn't about proof. It was about momentum. And momentum doesn't care about facts. It cares about attention. The culture had latched onto a storyline that felt too cinematic to ignore. The kind of saga where every character's past suddenly matters. Where every smile, pause, an old joke gets reinterpreted through a darker lens. And just when people thought the internet had reached peak chaos, something shifted. The outrage matured into expectation. People weren't asking, is this true? Anymore. They were asking, who cracks next? Because once a narrative reaches that stage, someone always breaks the silence. Someone always tries to control the damage. Someone always steps forward to redirect the story. And the entire internet leaned forward. Again, because whatever happened next wasn't just going to affect one reputation. It was going to reshape how people viewed power, loyalty, and silence in hip-hop. By the time the dust started pretending it wanted to settle, the damage was already baked in. Not carved in stone, etched into perception. And in the modern celebrity ecosystem, perception is everything. You don't need proof when the audience has already decided what feels true. This was no longer about a leaked line or a misinterpreted moment. This had evolved into a cultural reckoning wrapped in memes, sarcasm, and side-eyes. The kind of reckoning that doesn't knock on the door, it moves in, rearranges the furniture, and leaves you wondering why the room feels different. J-Z single quotes S reputation didn't crumble. If anything, it sharpened. He looked like the chess grandmaster who flipped one pawn and triggered Chaos across the board, calm, controlled, untouched. People framed him as the guy who didn't expose, he revealed. There's a difference. Exposing is messy. Revealing is surgical, and 50 Cent somehow came out looking like a prophet who chose silence over spoilers. Fans weren't asking why he didn't speak anymore, they were praising him for knowing when not to. The narrative shifted from, why didn't 50 say anything? To, he was protecting himself. That shift matters, because it reframed years of jokes and half-comments as intentional restraint. Not fear, not hesitation. Calculated survival. Diddy, on the other hand, faced the most unpredictable fallout, the kind that doesn't show up in headlines but lingers in tone. Every appearance felt heavier. Every clip was watched closer. Every smile was analyzed like it might blink in Morse code. Nothing concrete changed on paper. No statements. No confirmations. No dramatic confrontations. But the energy around his name shifted. And once energy shifts, it rarely goes back to neutral. Industry insiders, at least the ones playing armchair psychologist online, started saying the quiet part louder. That power in hip-hop isn't just about money or hits. It's about what people are afraid to say. And this moment cracked that fear just enough for people to peek inside. Relationships suddenly felt strained, even when nothing was publicly broken. Collaborations felt less celebratory in hindsight. Past alliances were re-examined like photos from a party where something bad happened later that night, and the public? They stayed hooked. Because this wasn't closure, it was a pause. The type of pause that makes you refresh your feed one more time before bed. The type that has podcasters lining up emergency episodes and YouTubers stretching thumbnails like elastic. The type that turns one vague moment into a permanent question mark. People began asking bigger questions now. Not just about Diddy, not just about 50, not just about Jay-Z, but about the entire industry. Who else knows things they're not saying? Who else is choosing silence over chaos? And how many stories have we only heard the same version of? This is where the scandal matured from entertainment into unease. Because once you suspect the curtain has been pulled back even slightly, you can't stop wondering what's behind it. Jay-Z never followed up. And that might be the most powerful move of all. No denial, no clarification. Just the quiet confidence of someone who knows the echo is louder than the original sound. 50 Cent returned to business as usual. Posting, joking, moving on, but fans noticed something subtle. The jokes felt sharper. The laughs felt knowing. Like someone watching the crowd finally catch up to a movie he finished years ago. And Diddy? Still moving. Still present. Still powerful. But no longer untouchable in the public imagination. And once that armor cracks, even slightly, the spotlight never hits the same again. The internet didn't crown a winner. It crowned a moment. A turning point where silence became suspicious and restraint became strategy. Nothing exploded legally. No careers ended overnight. No dramatic confessions dropped. But that's not how real power shifts happen anyway. They happen slowly, socially, in how people talk when a name comes up. In how jokes land. In how pauses feel heavier than words. This story didn't end, it evolved. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because unresolved narratives don't fade. They wait for another comment. Another interview. Another accidental slip. And the culture will be ready. Because once the audience realizes there are layers they've never seen, they stop accepting the surface-level story. They start listening between the lines. So maybe nothing was officially leaked. Maybe nothing was officially hidden, but something definitely shifted. And in hip-hop, when the energy shifts like that, it's only a matter of time before the next crack appears. Now listen if you made it this far. You're already part of the mess, so don't act innocent now. This story didn't fall out of the sky. It was placed. And stories like this don't end, they reload. So do me a favor and smash that like button like it owes you money, and just try to dodge the bill. Don't tap it politely. Hit it with intent. Drop your thoughts in the comments because I already know the group chat is arguing. Was this a calculated reveal? A careless slip? Or the first domino in a chain nobody's ready for yet? Say it loud or say it reckless, but say it below. And if you're not subscribed, let's be honest. What are you doing? This is the channel where scandals don't age, they ferment. Where silence is louder than statements and every allegedly comes with a side-eye. Hit subscribe because when the next crack shows up, and you don't want to hear about it late like everyone else pretending they already knew. We don't chase headlines here. We dissect them. We question them. We laugh at them while the internet loses its mind. New stories drop constantly. Receipts, rumors, whispers, and moments that make PR teams sweat through designer suits. If it's shaking the culture, it's landing right here. And remember, this wasn't about proof. It was about pressure. Because when legends start speaking carefully, it's not an accident. It's a warning. So stay locked in. Stay curious. Stay a little suspicious. This is Fame Blueprint, where the truth doesn't hide. It just waits for the right moment to leak. It just waits for the right moment to leak.